So I think when I first came to you, I didn't realize actually how bad of shape I was in. I mean, I knew I was in pretty bad shape, but I didn't know quite the extent of it until I started feeling better. But when I came to you, I remember I used to tell my husband every morning, I'd be like, make sure you check to make sure I'm alive because, I don't want Ellie to find me like dead, when she wakes up. Um, and it was just that bad. I mean, and when I did wake up in the morning, she would have to pull me out of bed. Literally, like how sad is that? Like she was 4 at the time. So, coming in the room and like pulling her mom out of bed and seeing me so sick. And I guess I just figured at that point it was pretty bad. And, I wasn't really getting anywhere, wasn't really getting any answers to why these symptoms were happening. I had a ton of bloating and fatigue, and I was having those heart arrhythmias, which is the initial reason that I came to you. When your body like swells from like inflammation, there we go, that's the word I'm looking for. I had a ton of inflammation. um so I guess when I came to you, I was kind of in shambles, and I didn't realize until we had that initial phone call where I was like going over all of my symptoms with you and like what was going on in my life, that it was actually as bad as it was. And I was kind of just forcing myself to live through each day because I wanted to be able to be a good wife and a good mother for my family. But on the inside, I felt like a little bit of me was dying every day. And I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel at that time. And then I came across a post that you had made on Instagram, and it was just a random thing, just like scrolling through Facebook, or not Facebook, Instagram. And I had seen a couple things that you posted, and it caught my attention. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. I've never thought of like, trauma or things of that nature, for like autoimmune diseases and stuff like that. So I took the bite and I messaged you about it, and we ended up talking. And I felt like we kind of clicked, which I feel like you have to click with a person who's going to help you through something. Like you see a lot of people on Instagram or Facebook or any social media, and a lot of it is like nonsense. It's like, diets and supplements, and that wasn't you, and it piqued my interest. So, when we started working together, I was still a little skeptical, because you would just say everything was just trust the process. And there was nothing like, there was never anything that we would do. It was just trust the process, trust. And I'd get I'd get like a little bit annoyed, like, okay, I'm trusting the process. What's changing? And then I didn't realize it until after the fact. And I was like, oh my God, I'm good. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it was just trusting your process. There wasn't any one thing that you ever said or did or told me to do. Like, there was no diet, there was a couple supplements that you suggested that I take, that I still take religiously. Um, but there wasn't any one thing that we did together that I felt like was the switch. It was kind of just like working through every little bit that we did, the body outlines, and yes, a couple of the supplements, and the breathe work, and meditating, and just like waking up each morning with a grateful heart, and my daughter and I dancing it out, and just starting the day happy, because those things count and they matter. um I feel like that was it wasn't any one thing in particular that we did, but through that journey, and day by like some days would be really good, and then I'd have maybe like a setback, and I'd talk to you about it, and you'd be like, you just have to trust the process. You just have to, keep working on it, keep doing what I'm telling you to do. And I'd get annoyed again, and I'd be like, oh, like it's nothing's changing, nothing's happening. But then it did, and when it did, it did. And now I kind of look back on it, and I'm like, thank God I didn't wait, so long to try to correct and not, I wouldn't even say fix, but just to improve my quality of life, because now I feel like I'm not just trying to live through each day. I feel like I'm thriving, and my family can see it, my friends can see it, and um, as you know, I started training and doing things that I love, and it's great. I don't have that um, that anxiety that I had about every little thing. Like, yes, I still have occasional anxiety, um, but I work on it. And when I have it, it doesn't cripple me and it doesn't hold me back from things. I still go out and I do what I want to do. And it's good, life's good. And so gradually to the point that I didn't notice that it was even changing
Mhm.
to going from like that super crippling, like I remember being afraid to walk inside of the grocery store. And I remember talking to you about it, and I was like, how sad is it? Because you had made the post about Target and people going to Target and spending a ton of money and not knowing what they're buying, but not being able to like get someone to help them through the Hashimoto's like you. And I remember like I had to laugh or I would have cried because I was like, I can't even bring myself to walk inside of Target. Like it would take every fiber of my being to walk inside of Target. And that was kind of the point where I knew that I was in pretty bad shape. I'd always had anxiety, but never ever to the degree that I would be scared to go to my favorite store and spend a bunch of money that I didn't need to be spending. Like,
Mm.
that had never been a thing until the Hashimoto's. Um, I don't even know it. I wouldn't even say it was the Hashimoto's particularly. I think it was like the health anxiety that I had, like thinking I was gonna like drop dead in Target and people would be staring at me. I remember talking to you about that too, and that doesn't even cross my mind anymore. And I remember like the first time I went to the gym and I thought, oh my gosh, like what if I do something, what if something embarrassing happens? Like I was so scared to even go to the gym. And now I look forward to the gym every day. And I literally fell like a couple weeks into my training with Brad, and I literally fell off of a tire and I just laughed. I was embarrassed. I was a little mortified, but it's not like at one point that probably would have been like the end of me. I would have been like, I'm never coming back here. See you never. Bye. Yeah, it was like I think my antibodies or maybe it was TPO, maybe you're right. I think my TPO was like 12, it was 900, then it went up to 1200 and then it went back down. Honestly, like I haven't been keeping super track of like all that stuff because it doesn't really matter to me anymore. Like I used to keep count of it because I thought I associated my numbers with feeling better. Um, but now I'm just like, I feel better. So, wherever they are is there was a lot of food freedom. You even encouraged me to try gluten and I thought it was like a huge no-no. I thought that was like the ultimate sin of Hashimoto's was eating gluten, dairy, and soy. And the one night we were talking and I was like, oh man, I could really go for a deep crusted pizza. And you were like, so eat it. And I was like, I don't know. I'm afraid I haven't had it in so long. And you were like, well, you might not feel great, but it might be fine. You're like, give it a try. And, I felt like, okay, maybe it's not all about the diet. And, I do have freedom and wiggle room to kind of see what works for me and what doesn't. And I had never fully given up dairy because I love cheese and I can't give up cheese. So I never really gave it up totally. And soy I gave up for a while. And then I went to Chick-fil-A and I got Chick-fil-A sauce and I was fine. And I was like, okay, soy's fine too. So, like the only thing I really do kind of avoid for um, just like my own personal reasons is the gluten. I have had it. I did get sick once out of like 3 times. So, maybe it was the sugar because I got this giant cookie in Florida And it might not have even been the gluten, it could have been the sugar. I'm not sure, but yeah, there, you didn't really encourage, other than you did say gluten, soy, and dairy, but then at one point you were like, I don't think it's diet for you. I think you can kind of do what you want to do. And I was like, okay. I would say if you're struggling with Hashimoto's, or, I know you help women with other things as well, um, not to immediately assume your life is over. When you first get that diagnosis, I remember getting the diagnosis and I was sitting in the doctor's office and I remember hearing like, okay, you have an autoimmune disease, you have Hashimoto's. And I thought in that moment, like my life was over. I thought, okay, like, if I'm feeling like this for the rest of my life, I'm just going to be trying to get through day to day and I'm never going to be able to enjoy myself, especially if I had to live the way I was living at that time. So if I was trying to talk to somebody that had gotten that diagnosis and feeling how I felt, I would say it is certainly not over. There is absolutely help. You just have to find the right person to help you. And you have to be open to trying different things, I never thought that trying to heal my Hashimoto's would lead to me unraveling years of trauma that I never unraveled before and that I suppressed for my whole life, basically. So, again, it would just have to be being open to new things, being open to what you would have to say for them, but it definitely isn't the end of anything. It could honestly be the start of something even better, because I think back to my childhood and I think back to my teenage years, and then I think about where I am now, and I would say I'm in better shape than I was then, and I feel like a million times better than then, and I'm happy. Um, so it could be the beginning of actually feeling better. It just, you have to kind of go through the ringer first. Sometimes people just aren't open-minded enough, and I feel like I kind of entered this maybe a little closed-minded, and then the more I saw and the more I listened and the more I opened up, the more it worked for me. So I feel like if you're looking for help, you have to be ready to receive the help, and if you're not ready to receive the help, it's not going to work for you. I'm just super appreciative of, you know, when I talked to you that day, and I remember I was crying on the phone to you and trying not to let you hear my emotions, and because I was embarrassed of having emotions, and but then like through everything we went through, I learned that emotions are normal and natural and everybody has them, and sometimes you just need to embrace them, and then once you let them out, you feel better. It's nothing to hide or suppress, but I think the thing I'd like to say most to you is just like thanking you for helping me and like believing in me through it, because I think there were a couple of times you maybe believed in me more than I believed in myself. And I remember sometimes like hanging up the phone with you and I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, and I would think to myself, and then it didn't click until after the fact. Like through the whole thing, I'd be like, when am I going to feel different? Like I still, but then at the end, I was like, he helped me. Like I feel better. And, I just appreciate that, the boost of confidence that you'd given me and the encouragement and being available to me, like all the time. I had your number. We texted, we talked on Facebook. I feel like anytime I needed you within an hour, we were able to talk, and it was super helpful, obviously. Like, I feel great. I don't know how else I can say, like, I feel great. And I attribute some of that to you, some of it to myself and pushing myself, but also for your encouragement and push as well.
Yeah, you're the one that did it. I just guided you down the path,
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm just thankful that I found your Instagram post that one day when I felt hopeless and lost, and your willingness and readiness to help me. My husband will talk
Oh.
about you. Like like back when I was like, I don't know, if this is working, and he'd be like, it's definitely working. Like, look at you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, and I think he'd like to, if I could speak for him, he would say thank you as well.